am the baby of my family. Now here's the thing about family entertainment when you're the youngest, at least in my experience. Your siblings have already watched everything in the house to death. And since they're older, they don't want to be stuck watching little kid movies all the time. They want something different. But we still wanted to watch movies as a family. So, while other kids my age were watching Sesame Street and Barney and whatever else there was, I had more colorful entertainment. I don't mean anything bad, just a little more advanced. On a few occasions, just a few, what I watched proved to be a little bit too much for me. That's what this video is about. Here, in order that I can remember it happening, are 5 old scary movies that kept me awake as a kid, but that I love now. Number 1, The Birds from 1963, directed by Alfred Hitchcock and starring Tippi Hedren and Rod Taylor. Plot: birds attack people. The Birds has great staying power. Anyone who's seen it and sees a flock of crows or blackbirds, whatever, gathering somewhere, or a flock of seagulls going a little crazy in a parking lot, sees that and thinks, oh, it's just like The Birds. Here's how young I was when I saw this movie for the first time. I was still sleeping in a crib. Now granted, I slept in a crib for a lot longer than your average kid, probably longer than I should have, but I probably wasn't bigger than 4. I remember lying in my crib that night and staring at the little flowers in the wallpaper and thinking that they were moving, that they were turning into birds, and that they were going to get me. Sounds like the yellow wallpaper, but it was real life. Fortunately for my mom, who loves this movie and considers it one of her favorite Hitchcock movies, I got over it, and I love it now. But I do still get really grossed out when they show the shot of Dan Fawcett with his pecked out eyes. Number 2! Plot: a UFO lands in Central Park, and though the alien who comes out to greet people has peaceful intentions, things go horribly wrong. Gort. That's all I really need to say, right? Okay, you know how I said I was the baby? Well, I'll be a little more specific and say I was the surprise baby. There really wasn't a good place to put me in the house, so they stuck a crib and a changing table in the dining room, with the dining room table and chairs and 2 china cabinets and a chandelier. That chandelier, in the glow of a nightlight, it could turn into things. Its best trick was definitely when the shadow of the globes on the chandelier on the ceiling turned into a big Gort just hovering there above my bed. Not moving, just standing there. But I was afraid that if I took my eyes off him and went to sleep, eventually he would not be frozen in place anymore, and he would start moving slowly toward me to get me. Obviously, he didn't, because I'm still here. Number 3, Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956, directed by Don Siegel and starring Kevin McCarthy and Dana Winter. Pod people! The first time I saw this movie, or maybe the first few times I saw this movie, I didn't even really get what was going on. A good chunk of it just went psh. But I knew the basics. Pods! If you go to sleep, then you will end up in the pod covered by sudsy bubbles, and then when you wake up, you will not be yourself anymore. Movie's over, time for bed! Yeah, how do you expect a little kid to just go toddling off to bed after watching a movie where, like, the final act is this whole race to get to safety without falling asleep? Not gonna happen. And then add to that, for some reason, in my case, it got wrapped up with not wanting to go to the bathroom. I don't know, that was where my pod was gonna show up. This was kind of a recurring theme in my childhood. Watching scary movies late at night and then not wanting to go in the bathroom were connected for me. I'll get back to that. Number 4, The Tingler from 1959, directed by William Castle and starring Vincent Price and Judith Evelyn. Plot: a doctor theorizes that fear is actually a parasite that lives in your spinal cord and can be removed. It's a very weird plot, but it's got Vincent Price in it, and I love Vincent Price. But when I was a little kid, that wasn't really so much of a factor. All of the gimmicks of the movie flew right over my head when I was little, and sure, I know now that the Tingler is just a silly little puppet, and that you can see the wires pulling it along the floor, and that when Vincent Price is like, oh, it's just because it's a puppet and he's gotta put it on. He's actually holding it on his arm. But when you're a kid, that thing is real. It's real, and it's going to crawl out from underneath your bed and grab your ankle, or it's gonna come crawling out from behind the toilet while you just sit there unawares. Look, I had a lot of trouble going to the bathroom when I was a little kid. I didn't need any more excuses to avoid it. To be perfectly frank, the Tingler still spooks me, but it's not the puppet or the gimmicky movie theater scene with everybody screaming. I mean, those are just fun now. No, it's the weird LSD stuff. The one color part in the movie with the hand coming out of the bloody bathtub and the scary guy springing up out of the bed. Those are the things that kept me awake when I was 16. Number 5. The Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954, directed by Jack Arnold, starring Richard Carlson and Julie Adams. Plot? Scientists on an expedition in the Amazon discover a prehistoric aquatic monster. And he ain't friendly. There was a creature marathon on sometime when I was 8 or 9, 10, and they played the original Creature from the Black Lagoon. They played Revenge of the Creature, its sequel, and then they played The Creature Walks Among Us. They also played The She Creature, but I don't think that's actually really part of the series, and I only saw the first 5 or 10 minutes anyway. We happened to catch the first one right at the very beginning, and my parents and my sister and I sat down and watched all 3 movies in a row. And I was all proud of myself. I was like, hey, I'm a big girl. I'm sitting here watching this monster movie, and I'll be fine. I wasn't. I stayed up half the night watching these 3 movies, and then I stayed up the other half of the night with all the lights on, nightlight and chandelier, trying to recover. That's how bad it was. I was actually pretty embarrassed about myself, but, you know, in the heat of the moment, it's like, I don't care if I'm this old and I shouldn't be acting this way. I'm scared! And I'm embarrassed about it now because I love this movie. I mean, now, me and the Gill Man, we are good. We're tight. He's one of the many characters that I imitate, and of course, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It's one of those movies that when it comes on TV, I'm like, ooh, maybe I can rearrange my schedule to watch it, or at least part of it. I like the story and the characters and the monster design. I love the scenery of the jungle and the river, and there's some really beautiful photography and some really impressive scares, really good build-up of suspense, and also a pretty amusing male rivalry between the 2 main male characters, both for the attention of the female, who is also being sought by the creature, as well as over science. I'll let you in on something, though. If a picture of the Gill Man pops up on my computer and I'm not ready for it, I still jump. So, have you seen these movies? Did you think they were scary, or was I just being a major chicken? Either way, I hope you enjoyed this list. Thanks for watching! Bye!